Spook.
Yes.
What is this?
Well, that's my daughter's new penguin. His name's Pendles.
Oh.
She wanted him to be on the show tonight.
Okay. Well, it's good to see the bear making new friends.
Yes. And here he is.
It belongs in a museum.
I had this sudden urge to make a trunk call.
Welcome to the Collingwood Rant. I'm Sly.
And I'm covered in his beer spook.
He's my bear or my beer?
There's gravity on this set.
What a smashing win.
It was smashing. Were we talking British tonight?
Yeah.
Cheerio, pip pip. No.
I meant smashing as when we smashed him.
How fucking good is it to beat Hawthorn?
Not just to beat him comprehensively.
And beat them comprehensively on their own dung heap.
So we had like 5 changes. The surprising one I thought was Cox, Mason Cox. So we didn't have a specialist relief ruckman going into that game, which I thought was a little bit dangerous.
No, we had big balls in the ruck.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But we seem to go for a smaller forward line to expose that they are a relatively slow defence.
Do you think big balls was exposed?
No. With Barras, Sicily, Battle, it's not really the most mobile of defences.
Sicily and Battle in the same sentence actually makes sense.
Yeah. Sicily's playing like his career is finished.
He's playing like he's about to go on a holiday to Sicily.
On the flip side, though, I mean, I don't think it could be helpful him being thrown back and forward every game.
Every game he does it, doesn't it? Yeah. And is he effective in either role?
No, so I don't know, and then is it like, do they recruit one defender too many, which has made Sicily obsolete in his own defensive 50?
I've heard that Sicily's lazy, he just refuses to run either end of the change.
So welcome to the Hawthorn Rant.
I think we'll get him next week, guys. Now I have to go and return some library books and see my grandmother.
So we went in without Mason Cox, which meant Cameron was going to do most of the ruck. Lloyd Meek is a pretty good ruckman.
He's good at impacting contests.
Well, if they're brave, they need to be put down, I guess. But we'll get to that. How did you feel the game, the first quarter? I thought they tried to do what North did and chip it around and spread our zones.
Yeah, I mean, I went to this game, and yeah, from the bird's eye view down on the ground, it really looked like Hawthorn's forward line was incredibly open and all their deliveries found someone standing on their own. I thought we didn't defend particularly well like we normally did. We didn't close those entries off, and they sort of looked like after we kicked that first goal they were going to have a bit of a hammering type start. But there's a sense with us that we absorb some of these hits to see what's going on, and then we adjust to the tempo of the game and then make it our own.
I think one of the issues, if it was an issue, is Josh Dacos played off Ginnivan.
He certainly played off of him.
But it felt like there must... I don't know. I'm just extrapolating. But it felt like this sense of, don't worry about Ginnivan, he only runs one way. So when we actually tighten the screws and get the rebound, he won't be an issue. So he got loose early on before we really started applying a lot more pressure. Side bottom, I don't know if you saw the replay of the game and they interviewed him afterwards.
With Cam Mooney.
Yeah, and they said, when's the last time he took 4 bounces? And he said, I saw Guinea was chasing me and I knew I could. And Ginnivan's a great offensive weapon in kicking for goal and all that, but that's always been his concern. I actually found it funny, just to flash forward. I think it was about the third quarter. He was on the boundary and Pendles was about to grab him and Pendles sort of pulled back and Ginnivan just somehow slid to his knees and threw his head back.
You sure that wasn't Jai Newcomb?
No. So, second quarter, we skip away to a 4-goal lead.
We skipped away, did we?
We did skip away. And what did you expect coming to the second half? So, it had been tight. Did you feel like we had the ascendancy, it was even, or that we were holding on?
It's a funny thing, because I think we had so much of the dominance that, like, at the end of the quarter, I looked at the scoreboard and we were only 4 goals up, and it felt bigger. It felt like we'd done a whole lot of work. And I felt like we were scoring, but they just... The margin sort of probably... Well, A, it felt larger, and I think B, it flattered Hawthorn, because they really only had those 2 goals that they kicked in the second quarter when big balls went into the ruck, and it became it was like an Irwin Allen movie after that.
Well, let's go to that now. So, how did you feel about Frampton going into the ruck?
Look, initially when it happened, it was like, well, that period last year when we had the injuries and he rucked for about 6 weeks, he was actually fairly good at it. I thought, well, that's all right, he'll be okay. I think he leaked. They got 4 goals directly from.
Oh, they pretty
clearances.
much every time he was in there.
And they ended up moving Long in not long after. There's a play on words. Obviously, and then Long's, he's not a great ruckman or anything like that, but he certainly negated better than Frampton did. Frampton, I think, it's not so much that he can't run and jump at the ball, he just didn't give a shit where he was putting the ball down. And more often than not, he was putting it down someone in a Hawthorn jumper's throat.
Because one thing I noticed with Frampton when he was in the ruck is... And Cameron rucks the same way. Mason Cox doesn't. Mason Cox runs and jumps at it. Is they come inside the opposition ruckman and then they stand their ground like they want to block him. It's like watching Steve McKee ruck from 20 years ago. And he was given that instruction. And it's like, stop the opposition ruckman from jumping and protect the space. And Frampton was doing it too. Like, Frampton was coming in off like 2 steps. He was right next to the where the bounce is going to hit. And it's like, why aren't you running from 5 metres in and jumping and lifting your neck? And I actually think that's the fault of whoever the ruck coach is at Collingwood. And I've had a criticism of Darcy Cameron in the actual ruck because that's the way he rucks. And it's like, shouldn't you be teaching these guys to jump and use different strategies? And Frampton did exactly the same thing. And he got slaughtered when he was doing it.
Yeah, maybe that was a statement that he didn't really want to be doing this again.
I think that's the way Darcy Cameron rucks. I think that's the way they're instructed to ruck. Who's the ruck coach? I don't know who it is. Who's the ruck coach there?
Well, no, it's not Monkey because he rucks around every other club.
Or is it North or something? Is it Jared Blair? Is he?
I think it's someone of in statuesque height.
Do you watch them? Both of them were like, they step in, they guard the space, they don't really run and leap at it like most ruckmen do. Mason Cox does. And I just think they sort of think, let's nullify the opposition ruck rather than let's win the ruck. I mean, one of the interesting things is, again, the stoppages, I don't think were like particularly dominant. And that's been, since that first half against Geelong, we seem to be losing that a bit. And I don't know if they just don't rate it as much and say, we'll get everyone on the rebound. Like they're saying now, the modern game is more about, it's not about the contested hard ball gets, Carlton. It's about what you do with the ball when you've got it, and I don't know if Colin was just saying, "Well, don't even worry about that aspect of it. Let's get them on the flip side."
Yeah, I mean, we seem to, look, defence was after that first quarter. I think they were admirable. I mean, what did we keep them to? 55 points or something in the end.
Yeah, 56 points, and in that second half, they only kicked 2 goals, 5.
And surely, I don't know whether you got the stat there, but we must have scored heavily off the rebound.
Oh, I'll have another stat here. It's got beer all
over
it.
It smells good. So what were we talking about? I've lost track now that you talked about beer.
Not really focusing on contested ball.
More
on rebound.
Yeah, it seems to be the case. And I mean, at the moment, you can't argue anything other than it's working. So, yeah.
Jamie Elliott.
How good?
Let me ask you something.
I don't know, I was going with that how much thing. How much do you love him? His form at the moment is phenomenal.
Is he prospering from playing pretty much as the primary lead-up forward in McStay's absence?
But they're looking for him every time too. Literally, he's the only one who really leads.
But he seems to be coming out of the goal scorer a lot, which is probably where they typically play McStay.
And it feels, it feels at the moment that the forward line sort of opens up a little bit to give him space to lead into. Like, memory takes someone away, like he's not really there. I mean, they bombed, like, how many times did they bomb to Hawthorn's advantage, though, going into that forward line? You're not going to get Elliott having that miracle leap every time it comes in. And we really didn't have a tall forward down there that could take advantage of those high incoming balls, but the Hawthorn defenders were eating it up a fair bit. But then I think that they also pushed so much back that I think we were relying on the ball coming back out of the 50, and then we'd have an opportunity to collect it and send it back in again.
I mean, there's an element of the way they played in 210 is like, send the ball forward and we'll worry about the spillage, rather than always, we don't have the big forward to go for it. But I'm just wondering, I mean, is Elliott doing better without McStay there? When McStay comes back, is that actually going to curtail Elliott's influence?
Elliott is playing so well at the moment, you couldn't do anything other than look for him. And if McStay came back this week, why would you change things?
I don't know, but they're going to have to find a place to put him, otherwise he's going to be on the outside.
Well, surely you just drop McStay back into into the square and have Elliott just keep leading.
Yeah, I don't know if it messes up the dynamics of how that all works at the moment.
I guess we'll find out in a couple of weeks' time.
With McStay, so McStay will come in, he'll do the rucking. Do you trust him to be the second ruck, or do you trust his body? I mean, people were bagging Kruger and saying, well, he's fragile, but since I've had McStay, I don't know how many games he's played, but the first year he was there, he did a finger, then he's done a knee, then he's done a knee, now he's done another knee, and 2 of the knees have just been from running. The one in the prelim was unlucky, he had the GWS player fall across him, but the 2 other ones he was just running. This knee injury
excuse me,
was him just running really fast and the knee gave out on him. So do you trust his body to actually hold up, especially if you're going to ask him to ruck?
Well, no, he's not going to be a leap ruckman.
No, but I mean...
He's going to have to come in and use his body, you would think. I don't think jumping for him would be a good idea at the moment.
But this is the thing I'm saying, is like, is he going to be vulnerable or susceptible? The reality is, like, he's done 4 long-term injuries since he's been at Collingwood. Only 1 has been total misfortune of someone fell across his leg and injured him. The other 3 were just injuries he did during the game, and 2 of them are just from running.
Yeah, no, like I wouldn't risk it. And look, I mean, the harsh thing is I don't feel comfortable with him in the ruck. But you can't have that many talls running around. We can't have Cox coming in and just staying in as a permanent relief ruckman either. Someone has to pick up.
Well, what do you think about McStay as a player? Is he intelligent footballer, or is he moderate? Is he average? Because he seems to me to make some real suspect choices at times. 2 times when it was close, he turned and delivered the ball back inboard, which was just really strange. He had that one brilliant quarter against Brisbane, the first quarter. But
how many consecutive games would he have played for us, do you reckon? It's not huge amounts. I wouldn't think.
Well, when did he do it? Well, I don't know. I mean...
Well, he played, about the first 3 or 4 games, and then was a PCL or MCL or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Last year, he didn't get much connectivity either with the...
Well, he did a knee at the start of the year, and then he didn't come back until...
I mean, the thing is, you look at his finals performances in 23, and he was the reason we made a grand final.
I don't.
I think he's one of the strong reasons we made a grand final.
I still don't buy that.
Oh,
if he wasn't there,
the
replacement wouldn't have done something similar, or might have done better. Did he kick like an 8-goal game?
But I think he clearly, and they were both low-scoring affairs, though. I think when goals are a premium, he kicked 2, I think, against GWS and 2 against Melbourne. It's a good return in a low-scoring affair.
Yeah, but it's like people talk about him, like McRae does this, and I noticed he does this. He did this with Schultz' barometer for the team. He says things which I think are to make people feel valuable, and that's great. But I don't necessarily think McStay's reason we got to a grand final. I think whoever they had there might have done just as well.
Possibly. But you've never hidden your hatred of McStay. Anytime I see you drive past the McDonald's sign, you shake your fist.
That's a good one, Spook. Lipinski watch. How brave was he?
He was incredibly brave. Stunning and brave, I would have thought.
Yeah. I have never seen a footballer stand under a ball that was being passed to him perfectly. When do footballers ever do that?
I mean, there has been some commentary around the braveness in that particular incident. The thing is, he stood there and he took a mark. He didn't move.
He did that in the previous quarter too.
Yeah, that's amazing. It was brave effort. Yep. The thing is, the Meek thing, he didn't know that hip was coming. He had his back to him. He'd just taken the mark and he came in late. I think that in most of these marking contests, you probably got to expect some contact or anything like that. But the question of bravery, are you brave when you know something's coming? He didn't run into a pack or do anything. He just stood his ground and took a mark. I mean, took the hit. Well, if Meek ran past him at that point, would we all be talking about how brave Lipinski is?
I think it's a crock of shit, because you're saying he's brave for doing something that every footballer does multiple times in a game, which is when the ball's passed to them, they stand there and receive it. It's not like Lipinski had to start from 20 metres away, charge into a pack, running against the flight of the ball, not knowing what he was running. He just stood there. The ball was passed to him and Meek came in late.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever going to look back on Lipinski's career and consider him a hard player. I can't think why you'd also look at moments like this and try and embellish something to make it out
it's the same reason they embellish it. He had 20 minutes of sublime football, admittedly.
Yeah, no, he was good this week.
And apparently he was good this week, so I guess he must have been good the whole fucking year. This is the commentary of the
Was he brave the whole year?
He must have been brave the whole year.
I heard he went and gave blood after the game too. He took a prick in the arm with the.
Yeah. I heard he was brave when he played as sub a few weeks ago.
I heard he watches that Disney film Brave as a lead into most games.
I heard he got the lead as William Wallace in the Braveheart movie, but Mel considered him too young at 3 years of age.
I also heard that he identifies as an American Indian and wants to be known as a brave.
Yeah, okay, I think we should stop that.
It's brave of us to stop.
He had a brilliant 20 minutes, and obviously you're not going to expect him to get that sort of input all the time. But he's someone still, I just think, he is aggrandised by his supporters, and their commentary of whether he's good or not is inflated to such an unrealistic level. And then when he actually has a good game, it's apparently qualification of how great he's always been, even though he hasn't been.
Collingwood supporters do that to a lot of players, though. This is not just Lipinski's.
That's true.
There's a lot of that
Oscar Elliott.
artificial love in a particular moment, or for 10 weeks they've done nothing, and they'll do one or two great things, and you go, well, that's why we play them.
You should apologise.
It's twisted logic, but anyway,
They
are what they are.
It's insane. I didn't give a fuck who the players. Like, I was glad Lipinski had a great game. It helps us win. So, and I fucking want him to do poorly, but I'm not gonna fucking misreport how good he's been this year, because he hasn't. And I get more excited by seeing Ed Allen. Again, he has that mixture of a game. The first half or the second half, he was actually pretty good. First half, he did some good stuff, and then you do some so-so stuff.
Well, that was back to what we talked about last week. He's a 50-50 type player. For every good thing he does, he tends to fluff something. But that's part of that learning thing. The one that really grated on me, there was he ran out of the back line.
He kicked about 90 metres in the air.
Well, he kicked it. He had a couple of guys running free on the wing, and he somehow managed to kick it to 3 Hawthorn players on their own in the centre.
Yeah.
And I looked at that and I'm thinking, maybe it's time to sort of go back for a spell. He's not really doing much. But then I think he heard me in the crowd, because he looked at me and he flipped the bird. I think they flip birds now, don't they? The players, they like to do that.
Yeah.
The AFL's endorsed it. They've written off to say it's okay. But the second half though was brilliant. I think that's where you start to see the best of Ed Allen is inside of that stuff, whether he's getting a little bit of confidence or whether the players around him are getting a little bit more trusting of him. But he was really good, I thought, in the second half.
I mean, arguably, you have the goalie to come back.
Who?
Yep, exactly. And Tom Mitchell.
Oh, I remember him. He plays for Collingwood, doesn't he?
So, what's the balance of that side look like?
Well, there's still going to have to be some management done. So you sort of work around that, I think, over the next few weeks. Side? I think the best side is the one that was almost out there.
So you wouldn't bring De Goey back?
Well, you could drop Hoskin Elliott and bring De Goey in without blinking twice.
What about Tom Mitchell?
I don't think he's going to work with Longy at the moment. I think Longy's just doing too much damage. Mitchell had a great game in the VFL. Well, it's the first time he's played 4 quarters, so I think he's still going to be a couple of weeks away. I did hear someone say that, or read it or anything like that. But would you get to a point where you think you'd want to manage Longy for a week or two? Is he sub 20 games?
Well,
he's going to probably start feeling a bit of fatigue. Would you give him a rest?
I'd give him a rest.
He's crucial at the moment, though.
I'd give him, if he's fatigued, I don't know, obviously the metric for the 30-plus guys is different. You're trying to manage him. So he isn't that. If he's tired, then I would definitely rest him. But you don't see a team that has Long and Mitchell.
What other roles can Mitchell play?
Nothing.
Nothing? None at all?
In terms of the midfield, I mean, Sullivan, so you want to keep him in the side?
No, I think he's expendable, depending on who's coming in. Yeah.
I think Mitchell's another defensive mid, and it'd probably be useful to have him when Long's not in the middle. Now I don't know if you can manage both of them in there. You got McStay obviously to come back in. Ash Johnson is another one potentially come back in.
Can make him wear.
Harry DiMattia, he's having a great 4 weeks.
Well, he's had a great 4 weeks, hasn't he?
He's had a brilliant 4 weeks.
It's been a great 4 weeks.
So you have to give him a look.
Was there any bravery in those 4 weeks?
He was extremely brave. How are you enjoying your first day here, Penguin?
It doesn't get any better, mate.
Second half, we started to really just step on them, and we pulled away. They, in the last quarter, there's 2 things I loved about the last quarter. I know we always, not often, we always talk about when you got your foot down on them, just keep it there. I actually enjoyed that we didn't do that. That we just started fucking around and just chipping around.
It was like watching a cat with a mouse.
Yeah.
We just toyed with them,
and
we didn't really do anything hard in that second half, other than just be really fucking good.
Yeah, and it really looked like they were mocking Hawthorn and just they broke Hawthorn. Yeah, but Hawthorn looked absolutely broken. They looked dispirited.
Well, I think Buck summed it up really well in the post match stuff where he said, I think they took on the best and they found out they were 10 goals off of it. And I think that was a bit of a shock to them, that they thought they were going to be, based on how well they went against us last year. They thought this could be easy street, but they found out that we're a far different team this year than the one they played last year, and they were served up a football lesson, I reckon.
Yeah, so McRae spoke in the press conference. Did you listen to the press conference?
No.
He was very brave because he spoke about he talked about the maturity of the side, and this is one thing I actually enjoyed listening to. He said that, in the past we'd be 4 goals up and then we'd give up a couple and become a nail-biting game. He goes, now when we're up, we stay up. Or we tend to stay up, and we.
Were they having Viagra?
Yeah, coxy.
Big balls.
But that's one thing. I'm just trying to remember. Like the Adelaide game was a little bit of a tussle, but the Hawthorn game, I said it to Johnny, was watching it, going, "Well, fucking don't turn this into tussle. You're 4 goals up. Don't let him kick a couple, and it's blah blah. Typical shit." And we didn't. We expanded it to a 9-goal win against Essendon. We did that against Brisbane. We did that. Against North, we pulled away. So they actually are now just going, okay, we're in front. Don't let them back in. Whereas in the past, in that premiership year, how many times did we get up and then it was just protect the lead, protect the lead, protect the lead?
It's funny because I think the conversations come up a couple of times about, are we peaking too early at the moment? Because you you look at how Sydney went last year, where they were untouchable and then they fell off a cliff. I don't think we're in that same ballpark as that. We're just playing really good, structured, team-orientated football at the moment. We're just good because we're executing it well. We're not going out there and then destroying sides through sheer pace or anything like that. It's like we're chess masters at the moment, and we're thinking through games exceptionally well. And I don't think that's an attribute that's going to lessen as the season goes on. I think the biggest thing that's going to potentially stop us at the moment is going to be injuries, and we're managing things really well at the moment.
Lack of bravery.
And you see, any year that you're successful, it's not a question of luck. Everything just goes right, and at the moment we're ticking all the boxes.
Well, we've actually had a few things go wrong. So you look at McStay going down from the injury, more doing the vertigo or the ear than the shoulder. They've had
Lipinski went down with braveness.
Yeah, so courage.
Courage.
I was going to say he's going to be recast in the new Wizard of Oz movie.
Yeah. Is it rated M for mature? Because that's what we are.
Yeah. We've had some injuries that were, the goalie's been out pretty much the whole year.
The thing is, though, we haven't had a single injury where we haven't been able to cover it effectively.
Oh, fuck, that's it.
But that's where I think that they're...
Call them.
It's like you've
Call
got...
the weekend guy. I'm out of here.
You've essentially got understudies in a stage play running at the moment. That when someone does go down, you've got a role player that comes in and fills that position adequately.
I knew an understudy once. He was a fucking idiot.
Oh, blunderstudy. That's a blast from the past.
Yeah. Yep. I agreed. Like they're doing that one man out, one man in sort of stance of, hey, it's all about the system. But I think there's a few keys to that side. So Nick, where's he at? I have no fucking idea. I can't tell.
He was really quiet in the first.
He got 32 touches.
Yeah, but then he's finishing off. I don't know whether the fact that Longy's become such a dominant force in the midfield and he's pretty pinpoint with the way that he clears the ball out of congestion long. And I don't think it's always looking for Nick. It's just whoever's the best available. And that sort of lessened the load, I think, a little bit on Nick, that Nick can be quiet, but he's going to work his way back into the game. He's just too good not to.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I still don't know if he's fully right, if there's something going on there. He seems to inject some acceleration at times, but you don't see it constantly, so I don't know if he's mitigated by some issue.
Hampered with something.
And he can only sort of push himself at times.
It's not courage, though, is it?
I don't know. Sam Mitchell was asked about, why didn't you tag him with Finn McGuinness, who was their sub? Mitchell just talked about they had plans for Nick, and they just didn't he didn't feel that Nick had such a dominant game that he was the reason they lost, which I actually agree with Sam Mitchell. But interestingly, when Buckley said that about Tom Mitchell about 8 years ago, Buckley was fucking just mocked for saying it, but I guess that won't happen with Sam Mitchell.
No.
I don't know. He's a really interesting one. Pendles and Sidey, the two...
To what?
Two old stages.
Yeah.
The two old Brave stages.
What about them? You got a question?
Yeah, how good were they?
No, they're good. I mean, the thing is, you look at them and going, you definitely, on merit at the moment, deserve to play another year easily.
Yeah.
Because they're contributing well. So, I mean, like, Sidey, we all talked about, that goal in the grand final, he's kicked it out of 50. And I think he said he's only kicked, it's only been 2 or 3 or something, he's kicked his career. Well, he had that
one-step shot. Yeah,
and that was pretty much borderline 50, and then sailed through.
Yeah.
He had quite a hike, and he's obviously on the pickle juice a fair bit. He's moving like a young bloke out there.
I don't know what the instruction was previously under Buckley, but the instruction under Buckley might have been don't go for these sort of goals. They're low percentage. Interestingly, sort of as an aside, I heard Buckley talking on one of those footy shows. I can't tell you which of the 900 it is that are on. One of the 17 he's on. And I was talking about Carlton at the stage, but I think it was talking about Carlton. Anyway.
Was that a footy show or a comedy show?
I might be making all this up. But Buckley was talking about system. He goes, system's more important than players. And I just okay, I really now get why you're coaching. And system's obviously important, but, you can go get 24 Montmorency's.
Don't you have to have good players to execute the system?
That's right. Oh, you obviously not going to get, guns in every line, but, you do need some match winners.
There was some, and I think it comes back to also being how well drilled. You saw that the sides that McRae come from as assistant coach were successful in Richmond and who was the other one he worked with? Hawthorn for a while.
Two very brave sides.
They were both system and really good skill execution sides. And I don't think he's reinventing the wheel by coming here. He's just introduced something that's working pretty well, and he knows how to execute it. There's some footage that the club put out of him. I don't know what you're saying. He's standing around in the middle of the ground.
About you make bad habits when you're tired.
Yeah, that's it. And then he's directing Houston and telling him what he should be doing and stuff. And I think that's it. It's just really, I'm asking you to do these things. Don't reinterpret anything. Pretty much do it the way I'm suggesting, because I think the way I'm doing it is probably better. And he's just reinforcing that, but nicely. And I think that's what it comes down to. It's like, it's like combat soldiers or something. You're trained to do a particular thing and you execute it without thinking. Thinking tends to get in the way of things at times and cocks it up. And if you've got a really well-drilled side that's doing these things now so much, not on reaction, but it's because it's now a part of you, that's where you're going to keep executing it well. And I think that's where it sees you go long into the year too, because it doesn't matter where the sides work you're in or anything. As long as you keep executing those really good things better than them, you still should conceivably keep winning.
Yeah, where thinking and planning really cocks things up though?
Where?
Disney.
Especially those damn Star Wars movies.
I don't think it's just those Star Wars
just
movies.
Put a tick next to it.
What a John Ralph of a company. So, in terms of Hawthorn, we've only beaten them 4 times since 2011.
Yeah, it was 15-2 or something.
Yeah, the MCG or something.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, during that period, we were Buckley-esque, and then they were in a dominant phase. So you expect those numbers to be skewed, but it still irked you that no matter what, you just were losing to Hawthorn today. Yeah,
but I mean, there's a few times that we were sort of a decent side and they still smashed us. So under McRae, we beat him in 2022. They beat us in 23. We beat him the first time last year and we lost the second time. So I was saying to you and some other people, I can't remember who, I was probably drunk at the time, but in terms of what I believe Collingwood has to do to become a good side, there's always a checklist. And you go back to the 2000s when Malthouse first took over. North Melbourne used to bully the shit out of us. And I always thought to myself, we've got to beat North Melbourne. When we start beating North Melbourne, I can tell that it's changed. The psychology of the side's changed. And same thing with Hawthorn. There's a really mature, brave win to not just beat them, but to actually absolutely smash them and to really beat up on them. And then to just sort of rub their faces in the dirt by just chipping around and just going, you could have put Benny Hill music on it. And Hawthorn was just like, oh, what do we do? What do we do? And the really interesting thing, Hawthorn, like the Carlton game, and I said this when we beat Carlton, is, you're down. You need to go take some risks to get back into this. But both teams seem to say, no, let's just put the Q in the rack and we'll lose by this margin rather than take some risk, blow it and lose by another 5 goals. So it's an interesting thing that Sam Mitchell said afterward that, like they lost to Brisbane, but tonight was a different level with Collingwood. So do you see Collingwood as being clear above the pack? So Tony Jones says this on the Footy Show.
At the moment, I think, we're not top of the ladder by accident. Brisbane...
We are a little bit because Gold Coast lost their first game due to a monsoon.
Brisbane are still playing okay football.
We did beat them up too.
Yeah, but there's something about Brisbane that even though... What are they? Because they're second still or something like that? That they just don't look convincing anymore. It's like that. I think the thing is...
Well, Essendon really pushed them.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, I think, they've been up for a while now. To know what you have to do to make a grand final, let alone win one, it's been back-to-back 2 years. I think they're going to probably just be content, and they're playing content at the moment. They don't want to go out and get hurt or anything like that. They're just doing enough to win. But that could probably be their year of that. They're not going to just go to that next cog up. I mean, the two sides that I think are probably close to us, and having said this, when we came in, that West Coast were only about 10 points behind Cats, but the Cats can trouble us, and the Dogs I think are the ones that they're playing really good football at the moment.
I think Geelong's shit.
Well, let's put that to bed.
And
Adelaide,
Adelaide scares me more than the other two. Geelong,
that forward line's terrifying.
It is. Geelong, like people talk about they've been up for 28 years and all this, and it's like, well, if you had 9 games at a fucking shithole of a stadium, which was going to give you at least 7 wins, I would be, our teams would be up also. So I actually think they get flattered by their fixture this year is pretty laughable. I think it's just
Geelong's.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
And you're getting all these home games. So like people talk about their constancy of being in the finals, and it's like, well, they got one of the, if not the biggest home ground advantage.
Yeah, they play all the shit sides at home.
Yeah, so like I said, they're going to get 7 to 9 wins there, and then they're only going to win like 6, 7 others, and they're going to play some shit teams in the other 14 games or 15 games. So I think there's like a little bit of a false economy with Geelong. They're competitive, but you got to remember, outside of that 2022, they were always in the finals, and I don't think they ever truly looked like they were going to just, win. There was always better teams around them. And going back to Sydney, like Sydney last year, I actually meant to say this before because you were saying when Sydney were up, it doesn't feel like we're the same. Sydney's a fucking shit heap of a club. They had a coach who'd already coached them for 3 losing grand finals, so they got to another grand final and they lost it. Jeez, that's a shock. Don't blame the season for them losing, their way. Blame the fact that they're a shit manufactured club. They're the club that Ross Lyon should have said they're Nepo babies. But I just think sometimes people look at teams and they go, oh, they're being good, and they're just like, have they really? Because the way fixtures are skewered. Because let me actually put this to you. Carlton has the most ridiculously soft fixture for a team who was a finalist. If Carlton was sitting first, second, whatever now, on 10-2, do you think people like Kane Corns would be going, they've got an easy draw, the way Kane Corns was talking about Collingwood having an easy draw in the second half of the season?
Because no one cares about Carlton anymore. They don't sell papers.
Carlton doesn't care about Carlton.
No.
Who buys papers anymore?
Hey?
Who buys papers anymore? Maybe the Penguin.
Well, the amount of beer you spill, you should buy more papers.
I think you should check the footage on who spilled the beer. Any final thoughts about this game? Actually, before I ask you final thoughts, Schultz watch.
I actually thought, looking at him, he was trying too hard. Like, he didn't really ease back into the game. He just went manic out there. And, there's a couple of things that he cocked up. You think he's still concussed. But he worked his way back into the game. But, doing the hamstring probably didn't end up surprising me because he was just going hell for leather. And I don't think on his return game he probably needed to go that. Like, he looked like deer in the headlights whenever you saw him running around. He was just wired. But I think just the overexertion or whatever it is, because he hasn't torn the hammy apparently until I suppose we get the scans tomorrow, that apparently it's a light strain or something, Fly said, though he was walking like he'd been shot at the end of the game.
He's very brave to walk off.
He was brave.
And Bobby Hill watch?
Yeah, I think it was a better game for Bobby.
Just so Ginnivan giving him shit?
Did he?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. You
Oh,
didn't see
I missed
that?
No.
So there
I haven't watched all the replay yet. I only see what I see at the
I
ground.
can't remember the quarter it was, but like there was that high kick to Bobby to the right.
Because Bobby didn't know who he was? Is that what he
No. He was standing under the ball for the mark, and the Hawthorn guy was charging, and it was an overhead mark. And
That's brave to stand under a mark.
He did, and Hill dropped it. And,
that's not so brave.
And Ginnivan was mocking him later, like going, "Oh, you fucking shit yourself." And Hill really got into him. It was like pushing him around and throwing.
Good on him.
So in terms of like Hill's game, like he did a few sublime things. He did that nice little pass coming out of traffic. He kicked a nice goal, which he had to get over the potential smother. But I don't know, he's still a bit too much highlight reel for me. That he took that beautiful mark.
No, I was happy with his game. Well, he did a lot of hard running and
Brave
chasing.
running?
Did he? Do you have his tackle stats or anything like that? Because
Yeah, I've got stats here somewhere. Yeah.
while you're looking up his stats, there's one thing I wanted to bring up. What do you think of IQ's game and Houston? And there's a reason why I ask.
I thought they're both good. IQ still makes a few mistakes, but that's fine. I mean, every player's going to make mistakes. And same with Houston. Houston butchered that pass into the middle, the one he tried to keep low. But defensively, I thought that was his best game. And that was the first game I actually felt like he started fitting in and getting the synergy of the team. Because I know you've been saying this guy's no good, we should trade him to Carlton for Ahmed Saad.
Which one? Who?
Houston. I know you were saying that.
No, I said we need to get a first round pick to go with the deal to give him.
Yeah, so... why? What were you going to say?
Well, no, because I reckon this is 2 weeks where you've seen without Maynard there that they've both played visibly better games.
So you're blaming Maynard?
No, but it's just an interesting thing. Just whether they're playing a little bit freer or whether there's that reliance on Maynard to do a bit more of the grunt work. Because Q's been he's a lot more of a contested player the last 2 games.
Yeah, he's taken the game on a lot more, so that's really pleasing. I can see Hill got the huge figures of 1 tackle. So I can see why you'd want to highlight that.
Or maybe Ginnivan had a point then.
It was a very brave tackle,
Was
it?
Is there a stat for bravery? Who does the stats? Is it what's the name of that company that does the stats?
Deloitte's?
It's Deloitte's, yeah, or a stats man or something.
Swampy, he
does a lot of stats. Yeah, there's got to be has to be a statistical bravery, isn't there? Bravery X.
Yeah, 6.
6 bravery X.
Yeah.
No.
I should mention him. Don't mention him enough because you called him below average. But Perryman.
No, Perryman's I reckon he's been one of the more inspired pickups of recent Collingwood times. He just gets out there and gets it done. He's not flash, like you don't have... He's not the sort of player that has show reel sort of thing, like that over-the-top moment or anything like that. He's just a solid, gets his hands dirty, effective worker.
Why has he got a perm from the 80s?
Because of the wonderful things he does.
So center clearances are 8 to 13, and stoppage clearances are 22 to 27. So they won clearances 30 to 40.
Yeah, that was evident though. Yeah,
but that's got.
I think big balls in the ruck probably contribute to a lot of those numbers.
Yeah. Oh, what's funny? Like we had.
It's probably hard to get off the ground when you got big balls.
We had 7 bounces, and side bottom had 4 of those. Free contested.
I think he was whistling the Globetrotter theme when he was doing that, dude. Did you hear? Sweet Georgia Brown.
No. So final thoughts about this game?
That was fucking fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I must say, the last quarter was... I took my 2 younger kids. First time the 3 of us been to the football. Just the 3 of us.
What was the other
so
kid?
He was playing basketball on Friday night.
You didn't leave him in the closet, did you?
No. He's only 12, so we gave him the keys to the car and said, get yourself home.
From the casino?
Because I am a responsible parent. So it was a different dynamic sort of going in. Like you got your younger kids there, so there was none of the sort of the over emotional spook moments that you normally
call everyone John Ralph.
You normally get when you sit near me at the footy. I was pretty contained. I did say to them going in, I said, if they smash us tonight, we're not hanging around to the end. We're going. Because I don't stay at the end if it's bad. I walk out in a bad movie. Do I walk out bad movies?
No, you watch them again and again and again and again and again.
Maybe that's why I should stay.
How many times have you watched J.J. Abrams' Star Trek?
You going to talk about Disney? You're going to talk Disney to me? Too many times. Just like that Men at Work song. No, mental as anything. What were we talking about? We're talking about football.
But you're leaving with your children.
Yeah, no, I've set them up and all that sort of thing. But that's the expectation. We're not hanging around. And it was just really enjoyable just to sit back and just watch how wonderful it unfolded. you sort of had a bit of moments like this, and they were doing the movements. They really got involved, which is great. So well done, Collingwood. You brought us together as a family.
Apparently not, because the third child wasn't there. So
They did say though how brave that number one was. They kept pointing to him.
Leon Davis.
Yeah. For solo.
All right, so some comments. Here's a nice one. Jimmy from Spotify. Hey guys, I'm sure you don't remember my comment about 12 months ago. I listened to one of your episodes and demanded...
I fucking remember it.
I do too. I'm a wog. We hold on to grudges for a little while.
How many times have you punched that wall there that has Jimmy written on it?
Demanded back the 40 minutes of my life I thought I had wasted. I'm not sure how you did it. Perhaps subliminal audio, Travis druggy thingy. Anyway, I'm now hooked. You got me. I am searching for the latest episode the minute the final siren goes. I'm nearly 70, and I think I might nearly be a fuckwit, but love the show. Keep it up. Cheers, Jimmy.
Did you know it took me a while to break his password so I could write that? Did I say that out loud?
No.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks for coming on board. Send him your BSB number. We'll get some money out of
I think it was very brave of him to come back and listen to us.
Why? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Apparently, he said 41 minutes and I'm done. So I'm going to give it another minute of this shit.
Matt Catania. Good stuff, guys.
Matt Catanzi?
Yeah, keep the banter and jokes coming. Jokes?
Jokes. What's banter? Isn't that what the noise that chickens make?
Where'd that come? Asham Prison. 7 out of...
Ashland Prison?
Yeah, 7 out of 10 show, guys.
I'm going to Ashland Prison.
No crack at Disney, Star Wars, or Ralphie just left me wanting more.
Oh, we ticked those off. Fucking hell, leave us alone.
Yeah, go get cast in a Disney movie.
Yeah, we should pop Marvel movies next week.
What Marvel movies? They're still making them.
They make shit now.
Should we pound the shit Zack Snyder DC Universe movies? The fucking terrible movies? The ones where he forgot to put Superman in them?
Yeah, I really respect your opinion. If you don't mind standing still, I'm going to snap your neck.
Let me save this family of 4 after I've contributed to the deaths of millions in Metropolis.
Let me demonstrate what a kind and caring soul I am by breaking this guy's neck in front of the children. Just as Superman did when he first burst into our lives.
And he had to learn to kill.
To appreciate life.
He had to kill to learn it wasn't the right thing. Although he kills again in the next movie, but hey, I guess that lesson didn't stick.
He killed my interest in Zack Snyder movies.
Remember when he's left his mother with all those Kryptonians? Get away from my mother. Let me just fly you away 2 miles.
You'll be right, Mum.
McCraniac. AC/DC wrote a song about big balls. It should be a soundtrack to a big balls highlight video. He got 4 possessions. I don't know if you get a highlight out of last week, though.
What was the song? I like big balls and I cannot lie?
Yeah, something like that. Russell Blackwell. This Collingwood side is scary. The forwards are potent. Elliott is magnificent. Equal top at the moment in ATM. He's equal top ATM.
It's the amount of money he's taken out this week from a cash machine.
Oh, it's not Astamouth.
What was it? Ask them. I thought you said ask the mouth. Just then the brain said no. He did actually say that. But anyway, you thinking about that guy and his 2 daughters? You've gone and upset him again this week. He's going to write back to us.
I have no beer because you spilled it all.
All right, so Elliot's
call the weekend guy.
Elliot's best at ask the mouth. So is there anything else you wanted to say to us?
Yeah, there's a whole lot, but I can't read it now. In Coleman's best backline, strangling the opposition, tackling pressure, so glad we hammered. Cocky Hawthorn. This team is better than 2023, but don't know why McCreary and Membry get a game. That's interesting.
Oh, I think they can. I can understand a little bit of the angst towards Membry, but I'm a fan of Membry's. I like the way he's going about it. I think he provides presence. McCreary, I think they didn't play him on the ball that much this week.
No.
And he's gone back to upsetting the fans. Yep. Get him back in the middle.
Would be nice if you guys actually left a comment. You're in charge of the YouTube account.
I can't type.
I did respond to him.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you tell him to fuck off?
No, I just typed okay.
When you say ATM to him?
Jordan Lewis, pathetic example as a commentator. How's your Hawks going? You tipped them, lol. All right. the Third Eye Wizard. I have no idea why Cox or the Penske files are getting a game, but hey, I'm a spud who never played. Kane Toad deserves a flogging. McCraniac again. You have to be happy with smashing our bogey side in a game they would have been desperate to win. You'd take that, wouldn't you?
Oh, I'm taking it. Fuck, I was happy.
I kept forgetting to mention this because I mentioned about 6 weeks ago. Where the Rant music comes from.
The internet.
You got the original music. I got the closing credits from a...
There's some website, this is a long time ago obviously, where you people sample music and you can use it for free as long as you give them credit. So I'm assuming each week you're giving this guy credit.
No, I didn't.
Oh, well, whoever you are, thanks to the music.
8 seasons on, this is the first time you've told me this. And you were editing the show for the first fucking 3-4 years. That's it for the comments.
I think I did once include the a link. If you go back to episode 1, there might be a hyperlink in the notes about where this stuff come from or who it is.
Yeah, okay. Playing traditional rivals Melbourne at King's birthday, they had a smashing loss to the Saints. Everyone thought that these are back, but that's a pretty...
Yeah, well, they kicked 720 or something, 721. I don't know what the final score was. I did see someone update that. They won't fucking miss this week, you can guarantee that. But
well, they're shit.
We should account for them.
We should smash them.
Comfortably,
I mean, we're
shouldn't we?
smashing them when we're shit.
The thing is, we're probably due a stinker.
Yeah, I reckon
Just
we
one of
have
those really one-odd games that you just doesn't make sense. It's probably the one when we come back from the bye. Because we're off to Dubai at the end of this, after this game, aren't we?
What are we doing there? Getting some oil.
Yeah.
For Lipinski's hair.
We're going over there for a bit of ADM.
I think we'll smash them. We dominate them when we're shit. For whatever reason, we match up well against them. It's just, who do you bring in? So McStay's allegedly a chance of coming in, but I'd rather just give him 2 more weeks off.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I think that's it. You've got to take advantage of the bye.
Yeah.
And not rush him back.
Maynard potentially could come back.
So you're going to be without Schultz and you're going to be without Lipinski. So you've got to have 2 mandatory ins. Would you keep Sullivan? Who's waiting to come? I mean, they're going to have to reward some of these VFL players.
I think
Dematia probably, a month of good football probably deserves a call up. Cox played
Cox
well.
has to come in.
Well, because the thing is with Gawn,
he does well against Gawn. I think Gawn actually is a little bit intimidated by Cox.
Is he?
Yeah.
Gawn doesn't like Cox.
No.
What about big balls?
No, because Cox tends to play pretty physically against him, so I think that
Cox tends to stand up against him, you reckon?
Yeah.
He finds it hard against Cox.
He's very stiff. No, but, you go back to that qualifying final in 2023 where Cox just jumped up, planted the knee in his chest and knocked him down. So, I think Mason Cox is almost like a given to come in this week.
Bruzzy, he'd be a rough chance?
He's a rough chance. So
he said 2 weeks.
Here's another one. Do you just give him another week?
I think he would.
Dimatia and Tom Mitchell, do you sort of say, let's play him as a sub and give him 20 minutes of...
It's a possibility, but this is the first time he's played 4 quarters since come back. It's third VFL game, second? Third? I think it's third.
Who does
I don't think... I think McRae was on record to say he's still a couple of weeks away.
Oh, so he's going to come back during the bye?
Yeah.
Oh, good luck with
He's going to be the first pick for the bye round.
Yeah, so whether you bring in Dimatia and debut him on King's
Hayes
birthday,
he had a good game apparently.
Well, Schultz going out is a
at some point you want to get West into the side and see what he's capable of against Melbourne, would you? Who's the defence? May? Who else?
Is Lever still there?
Lever, I think, yeah.
Rod Grinter?
Grinter, yeah.
Grinter is still there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I don't know anyone else. Brassy, is he
Brassy?
Yeah.
I don't know. Templeton, he's still there. Yeah, I think this balance the side, because they do have the bye the following week, so it's like, do you bother even saying, hey, let's spell someone?
Yeah, probably not. I think the thing is, how many wins are we on now? What are we? 10 and 2. What do we need to qualify? Definitely for finals. 12, probably 13. Yeah, I think you're just going to keep pegging wins and doing what you need to do really well. Maybe sneak. I think we'll just probably go with the 2 changes, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Cox will come back in.
Cox and maybe Dematia.
I don't think you can go with a part-time ruckman against Gawn. And Dimatia wouldn't be, but even like maybe dropping Sullivan.
But Dematia is doing his best work in the midfield. He's not going to usurp any midfielders at the moment.
Well, that's why I said you drop Sullivan and then Dimatia comes in potentially as a sub and plays like the relief minutes. I don't think, not that I think they would have planned to spell one of the small forwards, but now that Schultz is out, you're going to keep those two. So I don't know.
Hayes may come back in. He kicked 3. He looked dynamite. And sometimes I think that taste of AFL. Okay, well now I know what I'm up against. To go back to the VFL next week and have a dynamite game, that may be enough of a call up because he's a fit for need. Have another shot.
The interesting thing, I mean, when you play AFL seniors and then you go back down to VFL, that VFL game must not panic you as much because you felt the full pace of what it's like at AFL. It's interesting. They showed during the replay some footage of how, I don't know who was taking the footage, but they were showing close up of how shouting at play. Oh, not shouting, directing traffic and it's interesting. It's when you go to a game, when you sit up on the second stand or the third floor, it feels very balletic. It feels very slow and dreamy in its way. But when you sit down at the bottom, right next to the fence, you can see the pace of it. You can hear the collisions. It's a lot more frantic. And I just think Hayes got that one game in the AFL, and if he had any composure issues or whatever, once he went down to VFL, it must have seemed like a fucking walk in the park.
That's what he said, Kaczynski.
Yeah. Your tip?
Collingwood by 63.
What do you think of Ross Lyon calling the Gold Coast Suns and AFL's Nepo babies?
Well, he's not wrong.
Okay, well, there you go. That settles that. Any comments about John Ralph?
No, he's just a John Ralph of a person.
Final.
The hanging judge got it wrong, though. He gave 3 weeks to Meek.
Okay, so this is actually a final four here. Lipinski very bravely stands under the ball as it's coming to him.
Yep.
And gets clipped by Meek. Meek's cleared. Jordan Clark tries to fend off Lockie Schultz, concusses him. No charge to answer. Rory Lobb punches Mason Cox in the head going for a spoil. No case to answer. You're surprised that all 3 of these cases had nothing? I mean, under the AFL's criteria, doesn't matter what the act is, if you concuss someone or you injure someone, then you're liable.
Look, I didn't think Meek did anything with any malice or intent to hurt, but the end result is the player got concussed.
That's the new qualification.
He misses a week. So you cause that, whether it's through action or inaction, you've caused that impact. I don't know whether that statement made sense, but you know what I mean. I think in some respects that if someone's missing out, then you deserve some form of whack.
Well, I was saying that in the commentary, though. I was saying even if Lipinski's concussion comes from his head hitting the ground, Meek is still the one who's liable because he's the one who caused Lipinski's head to hit the ground. So, again, the AFL qualification, although they seem to be walking it back a little bit, is whatever the act, even if it's an innocent football act, if you injure someone, then you're liable. And those 3 situations, they did not follow through. And I do wonder, because of the Maynard Brayshaw collision, which I still see fucking in comments on social media, if it was Braden Maynard, he would have got off, whichever the incident. I wonder if the AFL actually sort of thinks, well, we don't want the angst, so just let these Collingwood players take it.
Yeah, it's hard to say because it is. We were clearly on the benefit of that one. So,
but that was
I didn't think about that.
But that was the first time he initiated this because he went for a smother. 98% of people acknowledged he went for a smother, and the collision was secondary. He had all these footballers straight after saying he's fine, he's gone for a smother, and he's hit him. But then the AFL said, well, doesn't matter anymore. Final thoughts.
Great to beat Hawthorn.
Yeah. Anyway, share, be like Jimmy, come back, subscribe, leave comments. We'll answer them sometimes. And we'll
Don't hold your breath, though.
Next week.
We're chronically lazy.
Later.
It's actually harder than it looks to hit that.
Yeah.
If you rate Jimmy on it, would it make a difference? Doesn't get much better than that, really, does it? You know, we don't write these things; we just make them up.